Hello and welcome to Midday Report here on TVP World. I'm Marie Casey. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen initiated the Sunday night phone call with US President Donald Trump, which led to an almost 1 month delay of the 50% tariff slapped on European products. Despite the good news, it's not the end of these long-distance phone calls. We are joined live by our EU correspondent Angela Skujins from Brussels. Good afternoon, Angela. What else have you learned about these backroom trade talks?
Yes, so at a midday briefing hosted by the European Commission, ravenous reporters barraged the spokesperson's service asking for any more details regarding this late-night surprise phone call between US President Donald Trump as well as the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Now, a spokesperson said it was a good call. Both leaders agreed to fast-track negotiations and to stay in close contact. And while much of the details are under wraps for now, as you said, we do know that 50% tariff measure threatened by US President Donald Trump late last week won't kick in as of the 1st of June, will now kick in on the 9th of July. This is the date when that 90-day tariff pause ends. But let's take a listen to what the European Commission Chief Spokesperson Paula Pinho had to say regarding what comes next.
With this call, there's now also a new impetus for the negotiations, and we will take it from there. It's positive to see that there's engagement also at the level of the presidents. And from our side, we always said that we were ready to make a deal.
Yes, and we just heard mention of a deal, but according to media reports, what has been propositioned by the European Commission has so far fallen on deaf ears. We're talking about Ursula von der Leyen's 0 for 0 tariff pitch. We don't know where the US stands on that as of now, but according to remarks coming out of the White House, they're not particularly interested. We will know more regarding the framework of any deal later on today. That is because the EU's Commissioner for the Economy, Maroš Šefčovič, is expected to hold another phone call this afternoon with his counterpart, Howard Lutnick. We're expecting to get an update regarding this, but as we've spoken about the short-term outcomes of this phone call, it also represents the chilling of these frosty relations between the powerful transatlantic allies, where hopefully there will be an end to this transatlantic trade war, which is putting this $1 trillion business relationship at risk. But that's all from me right now in Brussels. I'll send it back to you in Warsaw.
Brussels, thanks so much. Russia has attacked several regions of Ukraine, launching a barrage of 367 drones and missiles at Ukrainian cities overnight, including the capital, Kyiv. At least 12 people were killed in the largest aerial attack of the war so far. In response to the Russian strikes, Poland once again scrambled military aircraft overnight. Oskar is in Kyiv and has more.
6 people have been killed and 24 others injured in Russian attacks across Ukraine over Sunday night and Monday morning. Now, this was the largest Russian attack on Ukraine since the war began, the second time in the last 3 days that Russia has broken its own record for airstrikes on Ukraine. On Monday morning, Russia launched 355 drones on the territory of Ukraine and at least 9 missiles. Now, there was furious condemnation from the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday. Let's take a listen to what his statement said.
Only a sense of complete impunity can allow Russia to carry out such strikes and constantly increase their scale. This does not make any significant military sense, but it does make significant political sense. In this way, Putin demonstrates how much he despises the world, which spends more effort on dialogue with him than on pressure.
We also heard from the US president, who referred to Vladimir Putin as crazy in response to these attacks. But he again used the opportunity to attack President Zelensky and blame him for the fact that talks aren't advancing. So more frustration growing with the White House here in Kyiv. President Zelensky using his statement to say there needs to be further sanctions put on Russia. There is still no sign that further sanctions are forthcoming from Washington, but the Ukrainians are going to hope that this demonstration of 3 consecutive days of huge airstrikes on Ukrainian territory will be sending the message to the White House that Russia is not currently interested in a peace proposal with the Ukrainians. It's Oz Chatterjee reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
US President Donald Trump says he is not happy with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin over the recent drone strikes against Ukraine. In a post on his own social media platform, the US president also called the Russian leader, quote, crazy. Trump's comments come after Russia launched over 600 drones and dozens of missiles at Ukraine over the weekend.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time. Always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kyiv and other cities. I don't like it at all. I'm very surprised. We'll see what we're going to do. What am I going to tell you? You're the fake news, aren't you? You're totally fake. All right, any other questions? I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people. And something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico is sounding the alarm. He warned that a US-EU trade war could cost Slovakia up to 20,000 jobs, with the automotive sector facing the worst effects.
Fico's warning comes as tensions rise over the potential for American tariffs on EU goods, including a devastating high in the 25% tariffs already placed on Slovak-made vehicles. As the 7th largest car producer in the world, Slovakia's economy is heavily reliant on the automotive industry, and the threat of tariffs doubling is a nightmare scenario. Fico has made it clear that Slovakia will need to intensify relations with free trade nations and diversify its exports in order to shield itself from this looming crisis.
Russia's ambassador to Finland has been summoned for questioning to the foreign ministry in Helsinki over reports that 2 Russian military jets violated Finnish airspace on Friday.
Finland's defence ministry said in a statement that the incident occurred off the coast of Porvoo in the south of the country. The Finnish border guard immediately launched an investigation into the incident. Local media report that Helsinki will formally request an explanation from Russia for the violation. The incident occurred just a day after Polish fighter jets intercepted a Russian Su-24 bomber over the Baltic Sea.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the 3rd phase of the 1,000 for 1,000 prisoner exchange deal brokered in Turkey has been completed. On Sunday, Ukraine received 307 prisoners in what is now the largest swap of the war.
On arrival, prisoners were greeted by Ukrainian officials. Among them was Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. Tears of joy overcame some of the newly released prisoners as they called loved ones to let them know they were free. Others reaffirmed their commitment to Ukraine's security.
We have returned, and we won't allow our enemies, these Russian orcs, to come back to Kyiv. We won't let it happen. Glory to Ukraine. We'll enlist again. We'll take up weapons and defend Mother Ukraine once again. We won't let these bastards, and I can't use any other words, to attack our land, to destroy our children and our families.
The exchange began on Friday and involved mainly prisoners of war, along with 120 civilians on each side.
On Sunday evening, the German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul called for additional sanctions against Russia in an interview with the German broadcaster ARD. His comments followed the large-scale aerial assault by Russia on Ukraine that killed 12 and injured a further 79.
Wadephul said Vladimir Putin is not interested in peace and wants to continue the war. The EU must not allow this, and that is why member states will agree on additional sanctions. The new package will be the 18th prepared by the European Union, with the last one primarily targeting Russia's so-called shadow fleet. The German foreign minister's comments came after Russia launched one of the largest drone strikes since the start of the full-scale war in 2022. The attack killed 12 people, including 3 children.
German Chief of Defense Carsten Breuer has issued a directive ordering the German military to replenish its stocks by 2029. This move comes amid renewed concerns that Russia may be capable of attacking NATO territory before the end of the decade.
The internal document entitled Directive Priorities for the Bolstering of Readiness outlines a roadmap which would prepare the armed forces over the next 5 years. Funding for the plan will come from the relaxation of Germany's debt brake, which allows for additional defence spending. The most needed area of improvement for the German army is air defences, in particular drone countermeasures. The directive also calls for the development of increased capabilities to conduct deep precision strikes against targets over 500 kilometres away. Other key areas include electronic warfare and building a set of both offensive and defensive weaponry in space.
Nicu Jordan has been sworn in as Romania's new president during a joint session of parliament in Bucharest. Dan has pledged to protect the fundamental rights and freedoms of all Romanians.
I swear to devote all my strength and skills to the spiritual and material prosperity of the Romanian people, to respect the constitution, the laws of the country, to defend democracy, the fundamental rights and freedoms of citizens, the sovereignty, independence, unity and territorial integrity of Romania. So help me God.
Așa să-mi ajute Dumnezeu.
American congressmen have demanded the release of Polish-Belarusian journalist Andrzej Poczobut, who is currently serving an 8-year prison sentence in Belarus. A bill modifying the Belarus Democracy Act of 2004, which has been introduced to the U.S. Congress, mentions Poczobut among others who are, quote, unlawfully held as political prisoners. The proposed legislation says that Alexander Lukashenko is illegally heading the Belarusian government and is responsible for holding nearly 1,300 people as political prisoners, including dozens of journalists, peaceful protesters, business leaders and democracy activists. The bill mentions 4 political prisoners by name. Among them is Andrzej Poczobut, a dual citizen of Poland and Belarus. The Polish government has advocated for the release of Poczobut since his arrest and imprisonment since 2021. Polish footballer Robert Lewandowski has surpassed a milestone of 100 goals for FC Barcelona. The moment came last evening during a match against Athletic Bilbao, which the Catalans convincingly won 3-0.
The 37-year-old Polish striker scored his 100th and 101st goal during yesterday's game at Estadio de San Mamés in Bilbao. Lewandowski said after the match that the team had a nearly perfect season and now it is time to take in the moment. Though Barcelona won this year's La Liga title, due to an injury at the tail end of the season, Lewandowski missed out on the top scorer title. This went to his rival from Real Madrid, the French sensation Kylian Mbappe.
As Poland celebrates Mother's Day today, TVP World had the opportunity to visit a unique place that's entirely dedicated to mums and their children. Places like the one you'll see in this next report are becoming increasingly important, as statistics show that in families with 2 working parents, it's still the mums who do most of the childcare.
This space in Warsaw is run by moms for moms, but not just them. While mothers enjoy yoga classes, workout, or sip tea, their kids can play under the supervision of caretakers.
We mostly cater to children and their mums, more often than dads, because mothers are more likely to take maternity leave. But we do have a small number of fathers who come in with their kids. We'd love to see whole families come in.
At Mamy Moc, parents can take advantage of a whole program of activities, while children are free to spend their time however they like. Adults don't impose any structure on the kids' playtime.
It's not easy, but once you settle into a routine, children learn to respect their mother's space and moms learn to calm down and focus on themselves a bit instead of constantly worrying about their kids.
The idea is to create a space that's not overstimulating, where parents can relax and children can play and learn through hands-on experience.
I often see the amazement in mothers' eyes when they realize it's okay for their kids to get dirty. That's not something they usually let them do. Our goal is to teach parents a certain degree of naturalness, normalcy and relaxation in their relationship with their children.
Mothers say they need more places like this one.
We mums often feel like we can't let our kids get too dirty at home because it doesn't fit into our routine, or we just don't have enough room for this sort of play.
As the number of children born in Poland dwindles, with just over 236,000 born last year, nearly half the birth rate 7 years ago, places like these are creating new opportunities for parents.
And on that positive note, we wrap up Midday Report here on TVP World. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.